Hi, welcome to Haven. This is a podcast that's a safe space for curiosity and conversation. I'm your host, Haven, and today I'm curious about what I wish I knew before I had kids. What I wish I knew before I had kids. Even having children in the year 2025 feels a little bit like a luxury, like a flex of, can you even afford to have kids? Do you have the time to have kids? Do you have enough room in your apartment or home to have kids? Feels like such a big discussion of even, do you want to have kids? Is that the kind of, future you'd like? And so there's a lot of things that now that I do have two children, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, looking back like, it may have been helpful if someone clued me into this facet of it, or at least planted a seed that it would be in my future before I had kids. So for this episode, it felt most obvious to bring in my partner in parenting. You've heard of him literally in the last multiple episodes. I will switch it up and do different guests in the future, but with season 3 being all about relationships, this is the person that I have the deepest and closest and most frequent relationship with, but especially when it comes to our parenting of our children. So please welcome my husband, Aaron.
Hello, I'm the father of her children.
You are. I feel like you are also the co-host of this podcast at the moment.
This is a new season, and it's great.
I know.
I'm happy to be a part of it.
I love you being here. You add such an interesting take to it.
Thank you. So, what do you wish you knew before you had kids?
I feel like at a headline, I wish I knew how absolutely life-altering it is. Nothing stays the same. Not my identity, not my personal space, not my body autonomy. It flips everything upside down in a great way, but it kind of reshuffles everything. And then when it settles, it doesn't settle in the same order.
Do you think that because that description is very extreme, do you think because of that, people are afraid to have kids? We know a lot of people who say, yeah, I don't think kids are for me. Mm-hmm. I'm good to just be a fun uncle or, a friend, a family friend or whatever. And then we know other people who have literally crossed wires or, did some wiring work to not have kids. Mm-hmm. And it's a big choice. Do you think that plays into it? The level of change that it brings in your life, is that out of fear, you think, for certain people? Or it's a very touchy subject because obviously people struggle to have kids. Yeah. And so it's not one of those things that can just be oh yeah, it'll change your life, it's going to be amazing. And some people are but I really crave that and I can't get it. Other people are no, I'm good.
It's absolutely a mixed bag. So I don't know.
It's strange how it interacts.
It really is. In juxtaposition of the same thing. It's kind of also my friends who struggle with infertility are can you believe this teen who accidentally got pregnant and doesn't even want the baby? And it was a one-time fluke. That's kind of a strange juxtaposition. But I can't speak for people who have chosen not to. I'm sure they have tons of their own valid reasons going into it. But I can speak that I think from the outside looking in, even hearing that of wow, that sounds like chaos. Why would I sign up for that? I wouldn't say that my life changed for the worse. I think it changed for the better. I just think I underestimated how much it would change. I think sometimes from the outside looking in, you see the sleepless nights or the struggle or the, messiness of what kids are. But what you don't feel is the ultimate joy and love that outweighs all of that substantially. I feel my life now, it added 3 new colors. I wouldn't say it was black and white before. We had a really lovely life. And if we didn't have kids, we would still have an incredible life together. But I think it added in 3 new colors, and the mixing of them together and them independently changed the way that I experience life in an artistic and beautiful way. So I think from the outside looking in, you don't get to feel that joy. You just kind of maybe see some of the stress and chaos. And so it'd be well, I don't know if I want to sign up for that reason.
Just this morning, I was dropping the kids off at school, and Isley said something. She saw a pink car, and she was like, oh, yeah, that's my teacher's favorite color because she has a pink car. And so it's okay, great. I asked Isley, what's her favorite color? And she said pink. And then I asked Echo, and he just goes, I like all the colors, all of them. And I'm like, this is a unique way of seeing the world through their eyes. And that part is wonderful. The change and everything, it's a lot of things all at once. And what I meant earlier in what I said was not meant to be like a negative thing or a bad thing. I think some people who are about to have kids, maybe if they aren't aware of it, just need to know that there's a potential to change a lot in your life when you have kids. And it could be as simple as maybe have more compassion or more patience, or, you know, whatever it might be that will grow in you if you choose to develop it. It could also look like frustration if you're not willing to grow and change and embrace it.
Totally.
With arms wide open. Creed.
I was going to say, are you going to start singing that one? The story you shared kind of also made me think of how, like, kids' experience of the world does cause you to think it through things differently. And when you said Echo's favorite color is all of them, that's kind of his perspective on anything. Like, there was a little class activity where they were talking about friends, and they said, like, each one, they asked them, like, well, who are your friends? And each kid would name like one or two of their, you know, people that they played with. And then when the teacher was telling us that when it came to Echo, that he was like, everybody's my friend. And so the activity they did, they had like this little school project above their locker of like whoever they said were friends, they would take pictures of. And Echo's the only one. You look at all the lockers, it's one kid with one or two people, and it's Echo with his entire class, like smiling so big. Like, he's very inclusive. Like, he's very, like, you ask him even his favorite hobby, monster trucks, which one's your favorite? And he'll go, all of them. Like, he's very much so more the merrier, to the extent where he has this little luggage of monster trucks he carries around, and it's like a parking garage of like 12. And we took it to this little grass area after school, and Isley's like, oh, don't you want to put those away? They're special. And he goes, no, I brought them for my friends. And so then she goes, oh, okay. And he was distributing them out to every kid so they could all play together. Like, he's very like abundance minded in his thoughts. So I feel like also what I wish someone told me before having kids is that they can unlock an entirely different perspective of the world that maybe you don't have or your partner doesn't have, but just their uniqueness inside your home. Like, that's different. You and I chose to marry one another. Like, we didn't get to choose who our kids are or their personalities. They
didn't get to choose us.
They didn't get to choose us. They just show up and present themselves. And it's really, really cool to have this different ingredient inside like the chemical complex of our family. But we would have been a family even if we didn't have kids.
Yes.
What's one thing that you wish you knew before you had kids?
I think I wish I would have really known just how complicated childcare and school is. Like, we had the unique situation of having Isley and then the entire world shut down the next year. And so, like, really the first year of her life, we were at home, and that was kind of wonderful. But then, like, oh yeah, going back to work, it's like we really have to find someone to take care of this kid, because you and I are both going to work. You know, we don't have the luxury of just like one of us being able to stay home. And so it was like, oh, like, this is more complicated than I could have ever imagined, because then you're essentially employing someone and you have to trust them with your most valuable person in your family, you know, like the most vulnerable person in your family. And that's a lot of trust, and you have to have some good conversations and figure that out, because otherwise, you know, you don't want to just, we did so many interviews with nannies and things, and if they didn't show up or if they were late, it was like, no, I can't count on this person. Like, it really a lot of people weeded themselves out. But then the people that we were able to find and that we knew and we already had a relationship and could trust, that was kind of an amazing thing. But it was just, I was not prepared for that side of it. Like, I just thought, oh yeah, like maybe we'll just have like family members come or whatever. But to be a working family in our situation, for the parents both to be working, that's a unique dynamic. And now we're entering into elementary school times, and lotteries for schools here in Los Angeles are kind of insane. So we're really trying to figure out that next step. And I wish I had a little guideline, some outline of when should I start thinking about this, because it feels like we're not behind the curve, but it's just a lot.
Me too. And then also, like, we did have all those different nannies and the things that really worked out, but then we wanted the kids to socialize and have like a preschool. But then I think we underestimated, like, a school that's 9 to 3, essentially you're getting to work at what, like 9:15, 9:30, and then you have to leave work at like 2:30, 2:45. So I'm also like, the way this system is structured is for one parent to be available to do this. Like, if both parents aren't, it's very tricky. Like, it's really tough. I don't think that the system is caught up with the times that there isn't typically one breadwinner out in the family. Usually it's both. And so I felt like that I underestimated as well, is like, even if we do think, oh, we'll bank on it in school, someone leaving early to go get the kids is pretty difficult. And aftercare programs sometimes are more expensive. Like, there's just a lot that goes into the childcare piece of it and the factor of it that I definitely think we underestimated.
Yeah. In what world can you just leave at 2:30 in the day? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe things will change. I mean, thankfully our kids are getting older, but just if you have young kids and you're thinking about preschools, it's like an important thing to think about what is available and what actually works. Like, there's some schools that we've looked at and it's like, the kids are going to start going to school at 7:50. That's when they get there. And I'm like, that's much earlier than we do now. And then the other kid starts at 9. So I just get to hang out with Echo for an hour, maybe. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, if you have different school drop-offs, like, there's just so many logistical factors. Or even, I was thinking about this as I was interviewing someone we were looking to hire. And she was coming back from a maternity leave before. She had a 3-month-old, and I was like, oh, that's great. And she was like, yeah, I want remote work so I can kind of bypass the childcare thing, which on one hand, sure, remote work sometimes can. But I was also like, well, what's your plan when you have a meeting and, like, you don't want to be disrupted? And, like, if, you know, that timing doesn't work. And she was like, oh, I timed out the naps. And I was like, that's wonderful. It's so great when it works. What's your backup when it doesn't? Like, when the baby wakes up from the nap early or doesn't nap and you have to be somewhere. I feel like also sometimes when you're a new parent, you think, oh, I can schedule this out and get things done. But then life sideswipes you and it's really not as possible as you would think it would be, at least in some certain, you know, dynamics or scenarios, to try and even work at home with a kid unless you have like someone in the other room with them. Like, you just can't manage or control them. It's so difficult.
There's another aspect outside the like essential stuff like work and whatever, but then you have the dynamic of when you want to do something fun with your spouse, you have to find a babysitter. You have to find someone, and then you're paying like $100 on top of whatever you choose to go out and do. It's like, I guess we can't go to that really nice restaurant. Maybe we go here instead. And otherwise it turns into like a very expensive night. And for you and I, like, trying to do that every week, it's like, okay, yeah, we really need to like plan for that. So there's so much more logistics than I really could appreciate in the beginning stages.
And it really does feel like a luxury to choose to have kids in the 21st century. Like, it does feel like it's not only the time component, it's the financial one. It's also just the emotional piece of it, you know, like, if we're going to choose to do this. One other thing that I wish I knew before I had kids was that both the mom and the baby go home in diapers after you have that. I remember when I vaguely understood this, because I remember one time I went to go visit my friend in the hospital and she had just had her baby, but she still looked pregnant, and I was shocked. And I was like, what? Like, she had her baby. Like, why does she still look like 6 months pregnant? I didn't know that it takes like weeks for that to go down. It's like when the baby comes. So I knew that piece. I was like, okay, I'm still going to need to hold on to my maternity genes. What I didn't realize is that, like, after a baby, like, you're still like, your body's still processing things, and it's almost like a super long period. And so shout out to Frida Baby. They have the most incredible modern age products, like these amazing kind of shorts that feel just like little briefs kind of things. It doesn't feel like you're wearing this huge diaper, and they've got these tools that are so much better than even what the hospital gives. But even that was so recent, as like maybe in the last 5 years. Before that, there wasn't access to that stuff, or people didn't talk about it. But I think I underestimated the postnatal care for myself, of investing in like nice quality like robes that are safe and like nursing friendly but soft, or even just the nice diapers, or like these like peri cleanser bottles that you don't have to then like move your hand around. It's got a spout that goes all the way up to help with that. Like, I think I underestimated post-natal self-care and what I would need to do. You think of, oh, I'm going to take care of the baby. You don't realize I'm going to feel like I'm just had a train wreck in my body, and now I have to take care of a baby sleep deprived. I think I didn't realize like how superhero women are after childbirth.
You could do a whole thing just on like birth and infant care.
Oh, like
that.
What I wish I knew before I got pregnant?
Yeah.
That's
or
a great idea.
Around that, especially the late stages, because we had so many unique things with both kids, and
even the fertility journey for both of them.
I think it's easy probably for a husband to feel like helpless in those situations. That's sort of the stereotype that floats around, like doting husband, like, oh, do you need anything? Okay. Yeah. You can be so proactive in what you bring to the table as a husband. Like, I did every single diaper, I think, for both kids while you were recovering.
Mm-hmm.
Just anything that required to pick up the baby and move or go somewhere, like I would just do that so you could rest. And I got that great advice. That was something I did know before having kids. I got it from your Uncle Justice. Like, just do every single diaper. It'll go a long way. I was like, okay, I can definitely do that.
Thank you, Justice. That one like saved my butt. I love that you did it. I didn't
literally.
You walked me through how to change a diaper when the kids were like 3 weeks old. You're like, here's the system. Here's what I have going on, because I didn't.
Swaddling too, like stuff, because with Isley you had a C-section, so like doing a lot of physical stuff was kind of hard. So I would just do every swaddle or whatever I could, because also your body is literally feeding the child, and there's all this stuff going on. Like, where finding the gaps was a big goal for me. Like, how can I bridge every single other thing? How can I meet every other need? Because you got this thing going on. I can handle bottles if we, whatever, when we get to that stage. But it was, I think, a really special time to rise to the challenge in that way. And again, it was a change that brought something new out of both of us. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like the practice of doing all the baby things, like the activity of changing diapers that changed us. It was the attitude and the mentality. I think the thing we still to this day, especially having toddlers or now children who test us and push our nerves and all of that, like, you and me are a team. And it's not us against them. We're for them. They just don't know it all the time. Mm-hmm. And so how can we best remind each other that we're a team? Where even if we get tense, we hug it out. We remind each other, like, I'm on your side. I'm struggling with this. I'm on your side. Can you do this? Like, it's part of our language now, so we don't like crash out.
Totally. And I think that's another thing of what I wish I knew before having kids, is that I would fall in love with you in an entirely different way.
That's so sweet.
It's true. It awakens something in you. Fatherhood has. And it's kind of unlocked like you in a new level. And
Daddy's here. Yeah. Sorry. That's uncomfortable.
It's true that it unlocked you in a new level of maturity and leadership.
Maturity. The guy who just said daddy. Okay. But yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Daddy.
Yeah. Haven, what's the best part about a fight?
Winning.
Winning?
No, I'm kidding. You don't really win in marital fights.
You can win. I think when you come together in the right way, maybe what you thought was winning isn't winning at all.
I think I know your answer to what your favorite thing about a fight is.
Make up sex afterward?
Okay, maybe I didn't. Anyways, we have created a course called How to Fight Better. It's under our umbrella of Pillow Talk, which is about just conversations that you can have with your spouse. We brought in our actual marriage counselor of 12 years, Dr. Jonathan Cood, to help us and explain the tools that he's been teaching us that have helped us have what we feel like is a really thriving, enjoyable marriage, and one that we're proud of. And so we were like, how can we share these experiences, but also the professional person who taught us how to do this with the world? So you can go to joinpillowtalk.com right now to get how to fight better. Okay, back to the episode. I really mean it though, of like, I think it also is what I wish I knew before having kids, is that your parenting style is going to be so different than mine in a great way. Like sometimes, what are you looking at?
I'm so sorry.
What?
What is a parenting style?
What do you mean?
You know, like, there's like styles of fashion and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Are there really like parenting styles, or is that just who you are? Like, I feel like it's just your personality style.
Yeah,
right?
That's like, I would say, your speaking style. I'm not saying that you're using a particular thing. It's just how you talk.
Yeah. But I think when people are doing something so new, like becoming a parent, mm-hmm. there's this tendency to, I've got to do it like this. This is how they say, like, to raise the great kids. You know, I don't know, like Mozart in the womb and all that. Some of that actually seems legit. I wish I would have gotten the kids to have perfect pitch or something like that.
No, our kids can't hit any notes.
No, they can't. Echo's got a little something, I think. Obviously, he's got the heart.
Well, what I think about it, just like even how you handle things, like you are actually a little bit more intense and direct. And I have to realize, like, I don't want to just recoil. Like, they need that firm voice from you just as much as maybe they need my nurturing, slower ramp ease in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just saying, hey, taper your voice, taper your tone, calm down. Like, to some extent, they need to know there's safety in this big power that you present, and it's not bad.
Yeah. What I meant by the parenting styles thing was, like, it is still a reflection of me. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm going to speak sternly to one of them, it's a part of me. Like, I can be very adaptive and very easygoing with a lot of things, but when there's something that is dangerous, or we're super late on something, like I just have to get them to move, it's sometimes the gentle parenting goes out the window. And it's not in a, like, I'm yelling or anything like that, but it is like, listen to me, we have to go. Like, the
firm boundary.
Yeah. There's a stronghold.
I think that technically is in gentle parenting. It's not in permissive parenting.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I can't take 10 minutes to sit down and explain why you need to wear socks with your shoes because it's very cold outside. Like, I can't do that all day. And so I have to trust me. And we do it. And
see, this is actually, though, the difference of us, where for me, if they were like having this huge meltdown about socks and I said, hey, it's cold outside, like, it's important to wear socks, they're like, I don't want to, it doesn't feel right. What I would do is, okay, let's put them in your backpack for extra, and then you have them if your feet get cold.
They say for extra so much now.
I know,
because of you.
Because of me, I say for extra. Because then I'm like, okay, like, if your feet get cold and you don't have socks on, you're going to regret it, but it's your choice. And that's me. I'd rather them live. And then I drop them off and I tell the teacher, hey, if you guys go outside and they're cold, her socks are in her backpack. And then I'm like, maybe you can have a better luck in getting her to put on. But I see it as, if I'm going to do a power struggle, that's not one that's worth it to me. I would rather just say, great, they're extra, they're in your backpack. You're going to have a life consequence of your toes are cold until you put them on.
You bring up a good point. That I think that brings out a better individuation, independence thing with them. Like, mm-hmm. they will realize the consequences, mm-hmm. but we're not sending them out in the cold with nothing. It's like, you have to learn how to put it on. Like, how many times have we gotten up in the middle of the night when Echo will call out to us? He's 3. He'll be like, Mommy, can you put my blanket on? Like, just grab it and pull it over you. Can you put my blanket on? I don't know how. We're like, we finally taught him how. And it was like a year. Well, and there's things that like there's things like that that are so simple but so difficult for them because maybe they are doing it in the context of our relationship, or it is somehow comforting that way for us to do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I are a team. We bring different things to the table. We bring different strengths. When we use them together, yes, they will be able to become more independent, both because they've gotten the thing and they know that they're trusting us at the same time. When we say it's very cold outside, you're going to need your jacket. Let's put it in the bag, or let's put it on when we get to the elevator. That I say that sometimes. It's like little compromises, because it's not that they don't want to do it. It's just that they don't want to do it right now. Like in their current state, they're in the house. It's nice and warm. Like they need little guides along the way. Like we can help indicate things, but they're figuring life out at the same time.
Yeah. When you say parenting style, I was a guest on a different podcast and they're like, how would you describe it? And I was like, I think I just see myself as like free range parenting. Like if they're little chickens on a farm, there's like boundary fence around them of like important things I care about. But most things
don't go out the front door, Echo. Like
no.
He just wants to go out there. He wants to go out in the front door so much.
So much. It's like he just wants to break free. But outside that, I'm like, most of the stuff, I'm like, I really don't care how you get things done. Like it's up to you as a child. I'm going to observe it, but I'm not like this intense power dynamic, power struggle, do things my way kind of parent. I really am like, well, if you're climbing up too high on that playground and you fall down and get hurt, you probably won't do it again. Like that to me, I'm not like, oh, don't fall or be careful or catching. That's my personality.
And I'm like, I think I'm pretty free range too, except when there's certain things where it's like, I really don't want to go to the ER right now and put a cast on your arm, man. Like, let's avoid
which
that.
We've never done.
Yeah, because we are a team and we have each other doing the things the way that we do things. We're coming at it from both angles, and I think that that's good. Because obviously you're not complete free range, but
free range means there's a boundary.
Free range sounds so granola too.
Wouldn't that be Homestead? That's the most granola.
If we're talking about levels of granola, I'm kidding. Or crunchy.
Crunchy.
They're the same.
We're saying the same thing.
Anyway, when we have our styles come together, it's a good thing. Like that's parenting. Mm-hmm. Like you can obviously be a solo parent, and there's dynamics like that, obviously, that exist, depending on your situation. But it is really great to have a partner in this. And I'm very grateful for you that you even shake me up. Like you don't let me stay in a power struggle if I find myself in one. Mm-hmm. It's rare.
Yeah, it's rare. Do you want to hear some of the listener submissions?
Yes.
Okay. Someone said, I wish I knew before I had kids how to share the mental load of having a home and kids. That not having a partner that carries that with you will affect the way you're able to show up for your kids. I feel like that one is like so crushing for me to read, because mental load, that's kind of a term where it's basically talking about how in the mind, typically of females, it's like being the default parent where you're like, okay, need to book their doctor's appointment for, their 2-year checkup, and we have to enroll in this school and it's coming up, and do we have a babysitter for this? And oh man, they ripped their pants. I need different pants, and the recital's coming up. Did she sign up? Does she know her things? Like, oh, this person's sick. How do I, adjust? And it's all the things that go into parenting in a day. It's like, oh, they're not eating carrots. How do I get them to do that? And I need to grocery shop for this. And I'm like, it's the mental weight that typically females feel, and it's not shared.
Can I be savage really quick?
Hit it.
That's basically just called responsibility. And if you aren't sharing the responsibility, then it's all on one person. Mm-hmm. And that's not fair.
Why do you think men abdicate? And then I feel like men get into the trap of, well, I'll do it. Just tell me what to do. And then then the females are like, that's part of the mental load, is me even having to think of a list to make for you. I wish you could just understand and know what needs to be done and do it.
That's a great conflict, because I think generally speaking for men, my experience of being a man and knowing other guys, we don't think about things as much. We don't overthink things. You know, if it's time to eat, go get something. If it's time to do whatever, we'll do it. It's just, there's some things maybe that aren't as ingrained about the caretaking side of it. And there's probably some valuable work to put those expectations out there. So, like, when you're having a kid, like these are things that you're signing up for, like to take care of meals and what else? What other kind of things are on the mental load of women and you?
Well, you're kind of proving the point. I'm just kidding.
No, but
I think of like practically in our relationship, the mental load, the way that you share it is when I go out of town, I don't have to make any lists. I don't have to remind you of anything. You look at the family calendar and you know what to do. Like, you know what time to leave for the kids to school. You know what to pack them. You know to not put nuts in their lunches. You know, like what the nanny rates are. Like, I don't have to spoon feed you when I go out of town. You just show up as if you go out of town. You don't have to do that with me. Also, you take the kids to essentially most of their doctor's appointments. Like, you'll take them in, and when they ask you the questions about how they're doing, you're prepared to answer. You know how they're sleeping, you know how they're eating, you know their bowel movements, you know their issues and their flare-up of skin that came out of nowhere. Like, I feel like those are tangible ways you help carry the mental load, where if other dads were stepping in, they'd be like, well, I don't know what to say to the doctor. Or when you go out of town, wait, what am I supposed to do? How do I do it? Like, they're not actively involved.
I forget things all the time. Like, there's a couple doctor's visits where you asked me to ask him about something and I just completely blanked on it because there were other things and there was progress and I was excited, that like, yeah, he's walking now, or like, whatever. And I think that it really just boils down to responsibility. Like, do you take responsibility for what's happening with the kids? Like, it's not a control thing. It is ownership. It is guidance. When they're really young, there's a lot of needs. And sometimes for me, that was easier. I think it's harder as they've gotten older. It's like, okay, like, what do I actually need to do now? Like they're like 5 and 3. What do I need to maybe I should stimulate their imagination a little bit. Like some friends gave us these painting sets, and Echo's over here saying his hobby is painting. Like he's saying painting's my hobby, and it's the sweetest thing because he just gets the paint and starts putting it on little canvas that we have, and he's painted over it like a dozen times already. It's so caked on there, but he really likes doing it, and it's doing something in his brain. I'm like, okay, that's a new type of need, a new kind of expression. That's great for him. I also know for him, he needs to get rough and go to the park and get dirty and all those things. So, and he needs to eat well and needs to do all these things. So I kind of know by paying attention to what his needs are, it's again a different kind of mirror than marriage necessarily, where, I'm seeing this reflection of what do I actually need, too. And I'm learning how to take care of myself better when I'm taking care of them. It's like when they I don't know who said this, but there's a lot of mental health stuff out there about like getting a plant or starting a garden. And if you can take care of that garden, it is a good indicator of how you're taking care of yourself. That's a strong thing. Sometimes maybe some men or people only take care of themselves and they can't see past it. That's something to work on. But on the other side, if you don't have a lot of self-care like me, or if that's a challenge, that's one place where maybe you could look and see if you're neglecting some part of yourself, maybe.
Going back to even just like the mental load piece, which initially spurred this, when you were saying that, like, yeah,
I didn't mean to hijack it. Sorry.
I thought it was great. I loved the tangent that you took it onto the side. But I think when you were saying, like, I went and maybe I forgot a question or two, I think also it requires us to give them grace of, like, you're going to do it the best you can, and it's not going to be perfectly, and it's not going to be exactly how I would do it, but thank God you did it. I feel like a lot of it, too, is, like, I'm just so grateful to have you involved too, that like maybe it's not gonna hit all the marks. I can message them on the portal and say, hey, we forgot to ask this. What's your take on that? You know, I can celebrate. Thank you for carrying that too. And thanks for the ability for that, because I think a lot of, it's primarily females, feel like the default parent. Like the school calls your number when something's coming up. It's not calling. I know so many dads that are like, I don't even know what the name of my kid's teacher is. Like that kind of lack of involvement. It's like joking and funny. But as a mom, you're like, great, just one more thing for me to carry on to my tack of responsibilities. It's important for the partners to be involved.
I think there's an important component to this where dads, men, need to take more responsibility, and wives, moms need to let go of some responsibility too, because there's some things that really don't matter. Like it can be easy to go helicopter mom freak out mode and take it all on, and then you expect someone else to get on your level of frenetic energy, and that's not the way to go about it. It's not, you're not trying to both go insane mode. Like you're trying, like what I can provide you when you're feeling overwhelmed and scattered and there's a million things to do, I can provide peace, at least peace of mind, you know, even if the kids are still, you know, fighting or things happen, but I can work toward providing peace, because I think that will at least give you the space to decide what actually is important in that mental load. You can be able to hopefully let go of some of those things and prioritize which ones we actually need to like focus on and care about.
Can I counter maybe on behalf of the woman who submitted this?
Yes.
What if she's saying that I'd love to release some things, but if I don't do it, it's not getting done. Like my husband isn't going to step up and catch it. It's just not happening, and things will fall apart. How can she articulate that to her partner in a way that maybe he can understand the severity of, I'm carrying so much. If you don't start helping, it's really hard for me.
Considering all of that, I would say do that with a professional counselor, because you could prioritize things and try and leave breadcrumbs or try and leave notes and all those things. But if none of that's happening still, like if you can't share the load, then you know, work it out. And you could work it out alone maybe, but probably if there's a miscommunication or lack of communication or something is not connecting, that might be an indicator of some other thing going on in the relationship too that needs attention, that needs help, that is a little more complicated and maybe even a little tender.
Yeah. This next one is more from the female perspective, so I'm going to be the only one to answer it, okay?
Affirmative.
Thank you, hun, for coming overall for this episode, though. It really meant a lot to me to have you talk about our journey to parenthood and what we wish we knew before we had kids.
Are you kicking me out?
Yes.
I have to go pick up the kids.
Okay.
It's been so great to be with you and to be with all of you. Have a wonderful rest of the podcast, and we'll see you later.
Okay, bye, honey. I love you. This listener said, duality is a thing. You can love being a parent while also missing who you were before. I think that's so true. It's kind of what made me think of how I was initially even starting the top of this episode of it changes your identity so much and it shakes things up that when the snow globe settles, it's all repositioned in different ways. And who I am as a mother is a different person than who I was. There's like the saying of maiden to mother, but who I was before motherhood is different. And maybe I do miss a lot of aspects of her. I think it's akin almost to like, maybe I miss different aspects of childhood that I don't have anymore that are different. And maybe I miss different aspects of high school that were really special that aren't there anymore. I think almost pre-kids it's the same way. It's not saying that you don't wish you had kids, but it's just that maybe there are other elements that are gone after you have kids that maybe if we can celebrate them so full and be so present and enjoying each different season, that when we do have kids, it's not going to be this big longing that I didn't appreciate it enough. But I also want to end, I found this on, I don't even know what, is it Instagram Threads? It's like their competition version of Twitter. But there was this long thread of someone talking as a sociologist, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'm going to read it off and maybe comment, add my own commentary in the middle. But it was saying, your grandparents' marriage versus yours, a sociological thread. The wildest shift isn't divorce rates or marriage age, it's power dynamics. Let's dive into modern marriages, look nothing like the ones before. This is also the handle is It's Jennifer Walter. No idea who this woman is. I hope she's a reliable source. No clue, but I do know that I found this thread interesting and I'm willing to comment on it. 1960 snapshot. 70% of families had a single breadwinner. Financial decisions, one-way street. Career sacrifices, always the wife, if that was even an option. Major purchases, the dad's domain. The family checkbook was a power tool. Fast forward to 2025. Only 19% have single breadwinners. Dual incomes equal shared power. Financial decisions are a team sport, ideally. Both partners' careers matter. Money stopped being a control lever and became a partnership puzzle piece in most cases. Enter the mental load. So again, this is what we were talking about so much. Even when we paused, my husband had to go and pick up the kids from school. My producer was like, oh my gosh, the mental load. I talk about that with my wife a lot. And what does that really look like? And he had such a great, interesting take on it. But it's such a hot discussion. She was saying what your grandma managed, the house. What modern women manage, the house plus career plus the invisible job of remembering everything. Doctor's appointments, birthday gifts, school schedule, emotional temperature of the room. The silent exhaustion is real. 78% of women report managing household logistics. Even in quote unquote equal partnerships, women do 71% of the mental planning. The to-do list never ends. It just lives rent-free in her head. Being a manager of home life wasn't in the job description. Meanwhile, though, men are caught in their own paradox. They're expected to be vulnerable, but stay strong. Be a provider, but be present. Lead the family, but share power. Be ambitious, but prioritize home life. The old playbook is gone, but the pressure remains. And then she was saying, plot twist, when both partners earn, everything becomes negotiation. Who takes parental leave? Whose job determines where you live? How do you split the mental load? Who handles the emotion work? These weren't even questions for your grandparents. The ripple effect is redefining masculinity, women burning out from invisible work, men struggling with role clarity, both partners navigating new territory in care work. Modern love is a beautiful mess of unlearning and relearning. She basically ended with saying your grandparents had rigid roles. Your parents started questioning them. You're reinventing partnership while dealing with old expectations. It's not just about balanced partnership, it's about a sustainable one. Think about your own household for a moment. If you mapped out all of the invisible tasks in your relationship, from remembering birthdays to planning next week's meals, what pattern would you see? I thought it was such a great way to share kind of the concept of maybe the mental load isn't different from generations past, but with now both parents likely either working or having lives more focused outside the home, the responsibilities don't seem to have adjusted and shared, just like schools. They're still 9 to 3. They haven't adjusted with the time that maybe there's not someone staying at home to be able to drop off and pick up, and there's a little bit lingering. So I just think it's a worthwhile discussion of, these things would be helpful to know before we had kids about the big concepts of how life altering it is to the very small of like women go home in diapers just like the babies do at the time. But maybe our generation wouldn't even have all the answers or the ways to prepare it for ourselves, because we're trying to carve out an entirely different path than generations past. And maybe we are refiguring it out for ourselves. And so on one hand, that actually really excites me, that we really get to figure out what is this new territory, this new frontier, and how are we going to make it work for our family. And so I'm excited that you were able to listen to this whole episode. We had done one previously of what I wish I knew before I got married. This was one of what I wish I knew before I had kids. My husband suggested I should do one of what I wish I knew before, like trying to have a baby or giving birth or pregnancy. I feel like that in of itself could be an entire episode to focus on. But It's all about relationships. I'm really excited to kind of dive into more of the niche aspects going forward. Thank you for listening on whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You can subscribe, and then my episodes will pop up every other Monday in your queue once they're released. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Haven the Podcast. And you can get our relational e-course, Pillow Talk, and our course specifically how to fight better on joinpillowtalk.com, talking about conflict and how can we leverage it to draw closer to one another through conflict versus pushing each other further away. And that's it. I will see you on the next episode.